wind up the year 2019, it's a great time to actually look back and to really see how was this year which has gone by for the various sectors of the economy. You're watching Reporter's Take. I'm Sakshi Batra, and with me is my colleague Pramiti Lonkar, who's here to tell us how was the year 2019 for the roads and the transport sector. Thanks a lot, Pramiti, for joining in, and season's greetings to you. Happy New Year in advance as well. First up, tell us about what were the major policy decisions that were really taken for the roads and the transport sector in the year 2019.
Right, so actually with the current government, there has been a greater emphasis on the road sector. And first up this year, the major policy change that we saw was the motor vehicles bill, which had been in the offing since a long time. And it got approval in the month of July. Got passed by both houses, and we saw steep rise in fines because of it to ensure better road safety.
Yes.
Apart from that, to hold taxi aggregators responsible, there have been better regulations, and also on third-party insurance. So these were some of the major changes, and as we had also gone to pollution check centers to see how it had affected, because even those fines had steeply gone up. Apart from that, the second major change is the FASTags being made compulsory for national highways and some of the state highways, which is a major change which also had a couple of hiccups in the beginning. And the government was quite intent on implementing it very strictly, but now the government has eased out, and since December 15th it has been implemented, and only 75% of the FASTag lanes are there on the toll plazas. So that is one of the other major changes. Apart from that, so the BJP in its manifesto had promised that 12,000 kilometers of road is going to be constructed every year. And this target, according to reports, one report by ICRA suggests that this is quite achievable for the government, since 10,000 kilometers has already been constructed in 2018-19. So this target seems quite achievable for the next year as well.
Absolutely. But apart from the major policy decisions that we actually saw during the year 2019, there were not just one but two budgets that we saw in 2019. There was an interim budget, and then there was the union budget. Could you tell us and the viewers as well as to what were the major announcements made by the government Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in the union budget, and what sort of allocation did we see for the roads and the transport sector as well?
So the major emphasis of the government is on the infrastructure sector. And the government keeps emphasizing that 1 trillion is going to be spent in this sector itself. So roads forms a very important part of that. And which is why we have seen a greater allocation towards Bharatmala, which has been, the allocation has been raised from 62,000 to 75,000 this year.
That's true.
Under the budget. And there is also greater emphasis on electric mobility, for which there have been a lot of SOPs that have been given out in budget 2019 with interest paid on loans. There's a deduction on income tax for 1.5 lakhs. Apart from that, there's also a customs duty exemption on parts of electric vehicles which are being imported, so that electric vehicles become more affordable, and thus people adapt to this change. And there's also a GST rate cut that happened. So the GST,
for the electric vehicles,
So the GST is down from 12% to 5% for electric vehicles.
Absolutely. So those were all to actually push the electric vehicle segment, which the government is really keen on doing and implementing or doing a complete electrification by the year 2030 as well. So there's a definitely a push on the pedal on that front as well from the government's part. But as we move into the year 2020, what are the other major spendings and investments? The next big trigger will be the budget 2020 as well. We are just a month away from the budget 2020. What kind of spending or investments can we really expect for the roads and transport sector coming in 2020?
Alright, so according to reports, there's going to be a greater emphasis, and we're going to see a continuity of the programs which are already there. So there's more emphasis on Bharatmala, on Sagarmala, and more emphasis on those projects. So 3 trillion is likely to be spent on these projects. And apart from that, there's also the TOT bundles. So the last TOT bundle did not receive that much response in the TOT2, as all of us know. The bid was cancelled. But however, in the third TOT bundle, which was introduced this year itself,
Yeah.
the bids were received. Were quite not as expected.
There were three
but
bids.
Right,
yeah,
but
yeah.
there were only 3 bids, but
Yeah.
still better than TOT2. So we're likely to see better investment and better private participation in the coming year.
Absolutely. And apart from the budget 2020, what we will also look forward to is some of the major policy decisions that could yet again impact the roads and the transport sector and could actually push for growth if coming in from these particular sectors of the economy as well. Could you spell out some of those policy decisions as well? We've already seen electric vehicle policy being announced in the Modi 1.0 government, as well as the Motor Vehicles Act and the FASTags kind of new announcements or the new things that have been implemented by the government in this year as well. What are we looking forward to in 2020?
So, the Road Transport and Highways Minister Nitin Gadkari recently said that in the Parliament he answered a question and he said that 50,000 crores are of projects are going to be awarded in the coming 3 months.
Okay.
So we are going to see a lot of investment happening right there.
Yeah.
And apart from that, there are also a lot of policy changes happening. There is talk of the scrappage policy.
Oh, yes.
Which is likely to be approved by the cabinet soon. And the main focus of that policy is to encourage the commercial vehicle industry, which, as all of us know, there's a slowdown in the automobile sector. So that is likely to provide a fillip there. However, we will not see a lot of direct incentives in the scrappage policy. Maybe there might be exemption or less road tax by the states, but no direct incentives are likely in that.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Pramiti, for sharing all these insights on what can we really expect for the roads and transport sector in the year 2020. With that, we wrap this edition of Reporter's Take. Many thanks for joining us in this special edition, and a happy new year from all of us here at Moneycontrol to all our viewers as well. Many thanks for joining us.